Hey guys, what's up? That was The End of the Line by the Traveling Wilburys, one of my favorite super groups of all time. It's a good song. Thanks for watching today. I'm Luke, as always. Today I think I'm going to be talking a little bit about kind of what it means to be a fan of movies and kind of a movie reviewer slash critic, and kind of a little bit into how that comes into recommending movies for others and just overall movie opinions. So let's just get into it. I am a movie fan, as you probably have guessed already. I'm a Star Wars fan, Darth Vader, Star Wars. It's not my favorite, movie, but I'm still a huge fan. And when you're a fan of something, not necessarily just one type of movie, but just movies in general, people look to you and ask you things about movies, and you have to do your best to try and give them advice. So a lot of questions you'll get would be like, is this a good movie? What do you think of this movie? Like, should I check it out? And you kind of have to go on a case by case basis for that, but I'll give you a few kind of pointers that I do in my life. I'm a movie fan. I review movies. I've worked on a couple different websites, and I've got to say that when you're a movie fan, you think differently than a normal moviegoer, the 99 or 90% or whatever. And I know that's, kind of common knowledge, but you got to remember that, like, that's who you're speaking to. You're speaking to fans, of movies like yourself, but you're also speaking to just movie people, or just people in general that, don't really think that deeply into movies. So you got to think of it on that basis alone. Now, when that comes into play, would be a movie that maybe you thought was kind of not that great. Like, you just thought it was kind of average, you're like, nah, I've seen it before, it's not that great. It's not that it was super bad, but you were just kind of like, whatever. And then let's say it was just a generic action movie, and somebody comes up to you and they're a huge, Michael Bay fan or just action movie fan in general, and they say, yeah, you saw that, right? What do you think of it? Do you think I should go see it? And if you were talking to yourself or just a normal, movie fan, you might say, it's okay, it's not like bad, but you could probably skip this one, you wouldn't necessarily need to see it. But when your friend is like a huge action fan, you'd probably be like, I think you'd like it, I think you'd have a good time with it, go see it. Now, notice how I didn't say, yeah, it's good, or no, it's bad, or it's great, or it's a disaster. I don't like putting those kind of terms on things. I try to avoid as much as possible, because people just get this sense in their head that everything is either good or bad. Like, if you didn't necessarily love a movie, then you thought it was horrible, or you kind of liked it, so then apparently you love it. That's kind of why I try and stay away from good and bad. I try and steer it more towards, did you have fun or did you not? Like, was it enjoyable? Was it an enjoyable experience, or was it not? And I think that's easier to relate, because there's some people that, like, where this comes up is when one of your friends comes up to you and says, I want you to check out this movie, I love it, I want you to see it, it's hilarious, or, it's great. And so you sit down and watch it, and you're kind of not impressed at all. Like, this happened to me recently. I won't say what movie it is or what friend, but they were like, you haven't seen that? It's hilarious, you gotta see it. So I was like, alright, I'll watch it. And we put it on, and it didn't really do it for me. I didn't think it was that funny. I'd kind of seen it before. Honestly, I didn't even think it was that good. I thought it was kind of a below average, subpar movie. But they absolutely loved it. So I haven't 100% told him that I didn't like it yet. He's asked me, but I just said, I never finished it because something called me away, so I had to go. But it's kind of hard to just say, like, because then they think you hate it. Like, because I didn't like the movie, but that's okay. Like, it doesn't mean I think any differently of him for liking it. It's just, I just didn't personally like it, and it's hard to express that to somebody, because if I went up to him and said, no, dude, I hated it, it sucked, why would anyone like this? Then he feels bad, and he gets mad and defensive, and comes after me, and he probably won't trust my opinion on any other movie. So, but, you know, honestly, you just gotta be like, you know, it wasn't for me. I didn't like it as much as you, and you, if your friends, or if you're on the opposite end of that spectrum, you got to be able to say, well, you know, I understand, you know, we're not going to like all the same stuff, and you got to move on. And it's harder than you think. It sounds pretty simple, but it's not the easiest. And that kind of brings me into recommending movies. Recommending movies is pretty difficult. It seems pretty easy, but it's not. Because when you say you're a movie fan, you say you review movies, or you talk about movies, or you have a passion for it, people expect you to be like an expert, so anything they ask, you'll be able to answer, and you'll be able to give them exactly what they're looking for, whether you know what that is or not. So, this is kind of, it's not, because anybody can recommend a movie to anybody, but to be good at it, you have to be able to, you got to know the person first, and kind of know what they like and what they look for. Then you'll probably be able to make a few decent recommendations. But you have to be careful, because the biggest thing I can say with this is, just because you like a certain movie doesn't mean that everyone's going to like it. Now, I know it sounds simple, but a lot of times you'll see a movie and you'll think it's phenomenal, you'll think it's fantastic, you'll say, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen, I have to show this to my friend. And you show it to them and they don't like it, you know, and you built it up so much, saying this is the best movie of all time, this is a great movie, like you will not be disappointed, this is amazing, you know, and they watch it and they thought it was good, really good, but they weren't amazed by it, or they didn't think it was, you know, one of the best they'd seen. Then you feel bad, for one, and then they don't trust your opinion on recommending movies, because they'll think, well, you know, he sent me the one and it was good, but it wasn't as good as he said. And I know it sounds simple, but like, you kind of almost feel a sense of duty to be able to do that for people when they ask you. Like, just recently, my brother-in-law, he watched some movies that I didn't necessarily recommend for him, because he has a pretty specific taste. I recommended them to my sister, at least, well, I recommended one to my sister, and she watched another one thinking that I recommended it, but I didn't. And the two were Birdman, that I actually recommended to her, and then she also watched Foxcatcher, which I didn't necessarily recommend for her to watch. But keep in mind, I recommended Birdman for her, not for her husband. And she watched it, and she tells me, because Birdman is a great movie. It won Best Picture. It was nominated for a bunch of Oscars. It's a great movie, and if you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch. And I feel confident saying that. But I wasn't sure if her husband would like it, because he's not as artsy. It's more of an artsy type film. So I recommended it for her, and she said that when she first saw it, she hated it. And I thought, what? I was like, how can you hate it? And she's like, but then the more I thought about it, the more I really liked it. And the reason that she didn't like it right away was because she saw it with her husband, who did not like it at all. He didn't get it. He wasn't in on it. So that kind of brushed off on her, but the more she thought about it, the more she liked it. Then there was Foxcatcher, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend to everyone, because the best word I can use to describe that movie is it's very uncomfortable. It's not an easy watch. But the reason I kind of sometimes tell people they might want to watch is because they put on a clinic as far as acting goes. I mean, everyone was hit it out of the park. So those performances are wonderful, but the story's really hard. It's just dark and depressing, and it's not the easiest to watch, honestly. But so then they watched Birdman. He didn't like that. And then they watched Foxcatcher, which they thought I recommended, but I didn't. And they both hated it. So that prompted him to say, I'm never going to watch a movie that Luke recommends ever again. And that hurt on the inside, because I spent time in the past recommending movies for him that he liked, but he's pretty hard, and it made me feel bad as somebody, even though I didn't even recommend them. It was like your credibility, is like tarnished when that happens, and I shouldn't feel that way, but that's what happens sometimes. And so you got to really be careful, because it only took those 2 movies with some misunderstanding, and I don't know if I'll be able to recommend a movie to him again, and it's hard, and just because you like a movie doesn't mean somebody else won't. Just because you hate a movie doesn't mean somebody else won't love it. It's kind of like just giving someone a gift or giving them a present. You got to know who they are, what they like, what kind of interests they have, and then go off that. It shouldn't weigh as much. It shouldn't have as much weight as I've kind of been alluding to, but honestly it does, because you want to be respected. You want to have credibility as a movie fan, as a reviewer, as just an enthusiast, and that really helps, because the minute you say, hey, you should check out this movie, and they watch it and they love it, and then you say, you should check out this movie, and they watch it and they love it, then you're their go-to guy. Then you get it, you get them, you get what they like, and then they'll trust you more. So then if you have reviews or kind of a video that I'm doing now, they'll be more apt to listen to it. And I think the key to that is just be unbiased. See things for what they are. You have to have your opinion, but don't tear things down. Don't blow things out of proportion. Just kind of focus on facts and details, and what you liked and didn't like about a movie, and some themes. And then if you know a person well enough and you think that they'd really enjoy that, then definitely recommend it to them. But I'd be careful. It's harder than you think. It really is, and it can damage people's thought of you and their trust in you when it comes to things like that. But I think that'll do it today. Just kind of wanted to throw my thoughts out there. This is a little bit of a shorter video, but that's kind of my thoughts on movie reviewers and what they have to look for in recommending movies, or what to see, and kind of how to keep your credibility up. And again, thanks for watching. You can find me on Twitter at LukeLarson89, and I really appreciate it, guys. Until next time.